Okay, Brandon, go to the back. It's time to do some government. Let's go. Government. All right. Where's my? All right. Welcome everyone to the November 13th regular meeting of the Midcoast Community Council. Who really is running over? Scott, would you take?
Yes.
Thank you.
Greg here. Gus
Here.
Claire
Here.
I'm here. Dan
Here.
Ann
Here.
And Kimberly is not. Is that everybody?
Yeah.
Everybody. Kimberly's here. Okay.
Okay, great. Awesome. Let's start with the Board of Supervisors reports. I think we can put us all on the Zoom. I saw.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm in 2 meetings tonight. Good to see you all. First, I wanted to say that today we had the ribbon cutting for the Dignity Health pilot program that's going to be taking place for the next couple of months. So I wanted to thank all the members who attended today and the stakeholders who were present. If you again need some more information about the pilot program, I could email that to you. But today was a ribbon cutting and we had a successful day talking to some of the people who were there, and celebrating that. The other thing that I wanted to briefly mention is that yesterday, the Board of Supervisors released the 400-page full report. In case you haven't heard yet, the Board of Supervisors received a report from the judge assigned to do an investigation on what's been happening with the Sheriff's Department. So that report is fully accessible to you. Please visit the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors website so that you can find the link. Okay. And then today, the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors sought for the sheriff's resignation over the findings from the investigation. And you can find more information on that on the San Mateo County website as well if you follow the news or events section of the website. And those are all my announcements for today. So I'm really sorry that I can't be there in person, but I'm also still in another meeting. Just stepped out for a break to be with you guys.
Awesome. We do appreciate that. Actually, I have one quick question and then I'll ask if any of the other council members have a question. So the sheriff is an elected position, so the board can request a resignation, but they cannot force her to resign. Is that correct?
They are seeking, I'm not going to answer that just because it's a legal question. In my opinion, I'm going to reserve my personal opinion, but what I am going to say is that the board has sought the opportunities to see how the sheriff can resign. And so if you can already see the video, I'm sure it might have been recorded. Today you will listen to the requests that Supervisor Mueller and Supervisor Corzo, who were both supervisors assigned to that committee, mention what some of those requests were with county council. So I encourage you to look at the video if it has been posted. I just can't tell you right now because everything's, it all happened today. Just like, I think it ended about an hour and a half ago, and I'm over here in Pescadero where service is kind of limited.
Gotcha. Totally understand. Claire?
I'd like to add to what Gus was asking. And maybe you can explain it and maybe you can't, but this is a personnel matter. This is an important and invisible personnel matter, but it is a personnel matter and with elected official. And I got the complete report from Dolores Codell and the video of your press release with Supervisor Mueller. Sent to me via Nextdoor yesterday, as well as more information today. Why is the county taking this unusual amount of public outreach to inform us of this personnel matter, especially in the light of the sheriff's office has been traditionally associated with controversy and other things?
I'm offering information that has become a public matter. So I can't answer fully to your question, but I can definitely check in with Supervisor Mueller to see if he can give you a satisfying answer to that, Claire. Thank you for your question. Thank you.
From the council, any other questions? If not, I'll toss it to Kristlyn.
Hi, I watched the meeting and just could answer the question about the fine or how they ended the meeting was a official vote of no confidence. They have asked multiple other agencies to take on the report and continue on with investigations. And from the way it sounded in the meeting, it sounds like the supervisors at this time cannot remove Corpus from her elected post, that they have asked that something be brought to the voters to change that in the future. LA did something similar. And so, but they did mention lots of potential charges could be forthcoming depending on how the other agencies find the report.
Cool. Thank you, Kristlyn. Appreciate that that clarification. Any other questions or comments for Marisol? I'll get back to the other meeting. Okay. Thank you, Marisol. Appreciate joining us for this.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. And I will be in touch soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harvey, you have anything for us?
A little bit, yeah. As you know, not only the Midcoast, but Half Moon Bay contracts with the sheriff's office for public safety services. And our contract is due up for renewal. It's usually a sort of automatic thing, but in light of all the controversy, we're not going to deal with it immediately. Probably by the end of the year, we'll have to decide what to do about continuing the contract and what services we're going to need. On a brighter note, I attended the ribbon cutting for the pilot urgent care service in Bay, and it's really, really important. Urgent care pilot. It will cost you nothing. It'll take, no matter what your insurance is, even if you have no insurance, you will be seen at this urgent care facility. We need to demonstrate that there's a great deal of enthusiasm for urgent care so that when we get a more permanent installation, this is only a 6-month pilot, we will be in a good place to convince probably Seton that this is something they ought to do. So get all your friends, compatriots, family, everybody who has a need for urgent care medical services to come down to Main Street. The details are on the web. It's not open 24/7, but it is open a lot of hours. So please come. On a personal note, I won't be attending these MCC meetings as a Half Moon Bay City Council liaison after early December because I was voted out of office. So I'll still tune in. I care about the Midcoast. I have some ideas, but I will not be representing Half Moon Bay City Council. And it's been a nice ride. I really enjoy it. I like a lot of the people here, but don't expect to see me in official capacity anymore. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Well, first, let me just say, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't even have a chance to look at the local, the super local election stuff, and I'm very sorry to hear that. You've been awesome to work with, and I don't know what to say other than you've been really great, and we will, we hope you will come in and see us sometimes because we'll miss you if you don't.
Okay.
Do we have any questions for Harvey from the council? Nope. If not, I see hands here in the Zoom from Catherine.
Yes, it looks like you can hear me. Thank you. I'm speaking as an individual, not in any of my other elected or appointed capacities.
Are you about to ask Harvey a question? I just want to make sure.
No, mine was just for public speaking, so
Okay,
you can just,
we haven't quite gotten there yet.
yeah, I wanted to get in the list, so
Okay.
that's what it is.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'll call on you in line when we get to that.
Thank you.
Ann, did you have something?
I just want to thank Harvey so much for coming to every one of our meetings and really providing so much important information to us. And you will be missed very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for Harvey?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just want to ditto Ann's statement. Harvey, thank you for your service and all your help and all the time that you put in to communicate to the MCC. Thank you.
I just want to say I'm not going to miss him at all because I have brunch with him just about every week.
awesome. Hey,
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
just add my thanks as well, Harvey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks, and a very positive, you come in a very positive manner, which is awesome.
Thank you.
great. Okay, do we have any other reports from government officials? If not, then let's get to council follow-up reports. The first one is going to be transportation. I want to give a quick, very short update, and then I'll want to call on Catherine and Len to give us a very quick update on the stuff going on with Surfers Beach parking. The update I wanted to give is we just had our Transportation Authority Council meeting last week. And the Transportation Authority has just finished a call for projects on safe routes to school. And so I asked about Farrell Avenue and down there, and we had a little discussion. A walk audit done of that area, and if there has not been a walk audit, they are totally open to funding a walk audit, because that's the first step for getting anything actually fixed there. And then once a walk audit is done, then depending on what that finds, we would need to get Department of Public Works, because they would have to be the agency that asks. The TA doesn't actually do projects, it's fund projects. But they would need DPW to come to them and say, we'd like to do these X projects or whatever, and then they're like, we'd be happy to fund it in our next call for projects for safe routes to school, which now won't be until 2026. But basically our 2025 project to me seems to be, we gotta get the walk audit done if it hasn't been done, and then get DPW on board with submitting some project suggestions in the next call for projects. Yes, Greg.
Point of information.
Yes.
I will accept as a follow-up item and noted in the minutes to find the walk audit that Carleen Foldenauer did about 3 years ago when we first brought this up. DPW's got this material,
Okay.
but I will, when I'm reminded,
Okay.
I will go get that for you.
Awesome. That sounds great. Yes, Dan.
Can you share, Gus, what was said as far as what's involved? I mean, kind of hard to argue safe routes to school, but what's involved? What are the ideas that what are the infrastructure proposals? Did they?
You mean which ones did they fund? Which ones are they going to fund in this call for projects that they just did?
Yes. Or approve? Which ones are they approving or suggesting in the future?
Like, if you can you talk amongst yourselves for like 30 seconds? I can probably pull that up.
You want me to give a stormwater
He's
update?
got-
Yes, give us.
Go.
Yes.
Or else we could have Catherine and Len speak.
Yeah,
about-
actually, let's do that. Let's have Catherine and Len speak about the Surfers Beach thing, and then by the time they're done, I'll have your answer, Dan. Catherine, want to go ahead and get us started?
Thank you. Yes, tomorrow is the hearing at Coastal. The time to get a speaker slip in was 5 o'clock this afternoon. But you can watch it on Zoom. The Coastal Commission and staff combined the Half Moon Bay Highway 1 rehabilitation project into the same hearing as the Midcoast hearing project. Paul Nagast and a woman, I think her name is Jane, I don't have it in my head, anyway, filed an appeal for Half Moon Bay. And they've raised some excellent issues. Len and I have been working on our appeals for the Midcoast, particularly the loss of parking from Coronado to Capistrano, north, that's south to north. My statements are essentially going to say that I'm requesting the final decisions on the project come before the Coastal Commission when it's finally wound up, rather than the executive director as the staff recommended. The problem is Caltrans acknowledges that this project was designed from a desktop model. They haven't done any real bicycle or traffic or parking demand studies. They are reducing the number of parking spaces from what's there, which can be up close into the up over the hundreds, to 75, which will not accommodate current or future needs. And we can all, off the top of our head, decide or remember how few bicycles we've seen along there, but all the parking will be removed to put in bike lanes, which have different nomenclature depending on where and how Caltrans wants to use it. So the public is not being fully informed. One of the other problems is Caltrans is recommending that the beach traffic, the public access traffic, happen in El Granada. And they've named a couple streets which are not particularly adequate. And El Granada streets are in an antiquated subdivision. They were designed for smaller cars and lighter weight cars and for neighborhood traffic, not for the heavier SUVs or the larger SUVs, nor the heavier electric vehicles. My concern is that this is going to be a problem for our infrastructure, our underground infrastructure, because there have been several cases in Montero where a heavy truck has driven over a water line and poof, we have a geyser. So those are the gist of my comments. I wrote a longer letter that I got in on Friday, and we will, needless to say, we'll keep you informed. But I'm asking for a complete set of plans that solves future problems, because we're going to have even more traffic and need for parking over here, and more complete public hearings. I haven't talked to anyone who when I've walked around Montero who knows anything about this. And I've talked to people too at Surfers Beach. None of this has been posted, and essentially the project has changed dramatically from the sketchy one that was presented to the Planning Commission. And I'm asking for a full set for a full design set and a full public knowledge of what Caltrans is working on this. They say this is only a temporary project. It's been my observation that Caltrans does things temporarily until they don't have, and it's only temporary until they have to do it again because of some other disaster. So I don't see that this is going to be doing much. It's inconsistent, it's incomplete, and it needs to be finished and brought to the public. And as I said, the people who live here, the people who drive here, have all been experiencing this. We've all been thinking about it. We all have ideas, and they should listen to us instead of doing some remote desktop study without doing much talking to us. So that's my position on this, and we'll see what happens. You'll find out probably, it will be on, Coastside Buzz, but, essentially, our population, our neighborhoods have been left out of this discussion, and we don't want our neighborhoods to end up like Half Moon Bay did several years ago, where beach visitors were parking in the neighborhoods, and then there was no room for the neighbors or for the people who live there to have guests or even for them to park. We need a better job. And I have a question for Greg. I recall hearing that the Midcoast Council was told that if the county had made a decision on anything, you guys could not rehear it or speak to it. Is that true?
I can't recall.
I don't know.
I have to get back to you on that.
I got a question
Yeah. Okay. Dan.
regarding the appeal.
I agree with you that, this, will be an enormous impact to the local community and the visitors. Whether it's, people going to fish, on the jetty, going to walk on the pier, the trail, just accessing the beach. I was planning on going up to the Hyatt Regency in San Francisco tomorrow to speak and to make comment in person, 9 a.m. You mentioned something about a 5 p.m. That must be for a Zoom comment. Is that or a written comment?
Well,
I can't see any reason why they would not allow me to comment tomorrow at the meeting in San Francisco.
It's been a very long time since I've attended any coastal meetings, and they used to have speaker slips there. I don't think they can deny a member of the public the right to speak. So I would encourage you to come and speak, because you were one of the 2 people who attended the Planning Commission hearing. And I think that's critical. And the other thing is, to be real honest, and this is just a recent complaint of mine, people have been designing forms and website access and public interaction, public communication on the internet, and most of it doesn't make any sense. So when I was filling out the speakers form today, it was talking about remote speakers. And I thought, when I first read it, I didn't have to do it because I'm going to be there. And so that's what I would say if I were you. I filled them out just for insurance. But I would encourage you to come and maybe make some bullet points about what you're going to say so they have it in front of them for the record. And I'll be happy to send anybody who wants my draft comments. And you're more than welcome to read them, but we've got to, I believe if we don't stand up for our community with this Caltrans, who has been telling Coastal and others that, oh, they're not going to get their money, they're not going to have enough money to do this project. That's nonsense. They have the money, they can postpone it, they can get extra time from the California Transportation Committee to get this done right. Because like I say, this is a desktop plan. They were very careful with their pictures to make sure their pictures of that section of road had nobody on it. And the last couple busy weekends, I've been driving up and down that section of the highway. I've seen maybe 2 bicyclists. I've seen probably over 150 cars over those 3 weekends. And we have a hotel going in on Half Moon Bay that will take away parking. And GCSD is saying, hey, wait a minute, we're not going to volunteer parking for the general public. The liabilities and the costs and so on will be borne again by the general public in El Granada, and that's not right.
I think we've
Can-
gone on.
Can I call on Len? I just want to make sure that.
Oh, please, no, call on Len. As you can hear, I'm very upset about this. And I really want it to come back to the public, and I really like the first place it comes to be to the Midcoast Council.
I just want to say quickly, I also agree that, that you call it a desktop model, but clearly these ideas are being planned from somebody that does not have an intimate knowledge and experience of what is really needed, what is used in our area. So, yeah, I agree with you that.
Cool.
I got a very quick question.
Yeah, okay.
Catherine, is this going to be online, any place that we can watch it?
I think you can zoom into it, or the day after a hearing, you can watch it on Coastal.
I think it's
I
broadcast
actually
live through the
that.
Coastal Commission.
Through the Coastal Commission?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it is.
So if you go to the Coastal Commission website, you can live stream it the day of, or you can watch it the day after as a video. And in regard to Dan's question about speaker slips, if you appear in person, you can fill out a speaker slip the day of and comment. They won't deny you the comments, but they prefer that you register so that they have an idea of how many commenters they'll have. And if you want to do it remotely, even though they say 5 o'clock, you could still fill out the slip tonight and they will still catch you on the list tomorrow.
And you are awesome.
That's Kimberly.
Oh, Kimberly, I'm sorry, you are awesome.
Yeah,
No
awesome.
problem.
So Len, do you have anything to add quickly?
Yes, I do, quite a bit, actually. The origin of this project was really several years ago. Beginning in 2021, people from the MCC met with the county and Caltrans to discuss this project. It is the Highway 1 Multi-Asset Rehabilitation Project. We tracked it on the MCC's website. If you go to the MCC's website and look under Highway 1, and under Highway 1 at the bottom topic, you'll see the multi-asset rehab. And furthermore, at that site, at the rehab, you will find information on the agenda we're talking about, as well as the specific report that Catherine is mentioning. It's a 64-page report, and the link to it is at that page. If you will let me show my website, I will show you that and one other thing.
Okay. Let me cancel my sharing then.
Okay, very good.
Go, let me make it co-host. Try now.
Okay, so I'm going to this page right here. And there are two things up. This is the web page, the SR1 multi-asset rehabilitation.
We don't
And
actually
right here, you don't see
Wow.
my screen yet? Oh, I got to say actually share it once I highlight it. Okay. Is it up?
Now you're good.
Okay, so that's the web page on the left side and the entry. So that one has the full report that Catherine's talking about. Now, this full report was downstream from the actual project. The actual project went through a neg deck process and then came to us with a development permit. We discussed it in the MCC, and the county's planning commission approved it. And likewise, the city of Half Moon Bay's planning commission had details, and the council ultimately approved it as well. So that's what we're appealing, the passed and approved project. The particular thing that we're emphasizing here was when the problem came up, Catherine and I had talked about the question she had raised at the planning commission hearing regarding parking, and it was discussed, and basically it was disturbing. So she went ahead and filed an appeal there, and I provided slides for that showed the number of parking spaces that were being lost just right in the immediate area. So that's the particular focus. Okay, now, once the Caltrans got a hold of it, the very particular thing they did, and bear in mind that 3 years ago that was discussed as a class 2 bicycle lane issue. If you look here in the first pages of the Caltrans study, they put up the following slide that defines what's called a Class 2 buffered bikeway. This is the official name of the kind of process. I'm sorry. This is the name they're giving to the approach handled. It's very well recognized around the state as a kind of Class 2 bicycle lane, but it's very specific. And you'll notice here it has provisions for the cars, for the bike lane separated, for a buffered area in between. Also, you'll notice no parking signs that go along with it. So all of this is the bottom line of what they're putting forward. And then it's applied throughout the coast. Now, they have said this is the target, but it's not always in all places. But they did say it specifically would be at Surfers Beach. They were asked at the Planning Commission hearing, well, what about at Sam's? And there was a loud hem and haw about that. That wasn't really a final answer. And in fact, Sam's management is just like us concerned and has filed a letter to talk about this as well. So that's the status of it. Now, what happens tomorrow is within one narrow framework, the commission decides whether to go ahead with this in a process that's somewhat two-step. And so both Catherine and I, two people from Half Moon Bay, as well as a number of public speakers, are doing it. And I think both Catherine and I will display or put up the particular things that we show and try to further educate the public. But that's the full background. So don't think that it was narrowly done here. It's just that we have one of the worst places relative to people wanting to park and go out to the water.
Thanks, Len. Appreciate that. Natalie, did you have a question?
Not a question, no, but an unrelated public comment.
Okay, when we get to public comment, I'll call on you, Natalie.
Oh, we were a public.
Well, I mean, we're kind of doing a little.
Oh,
transportation
in and out?
update. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want an answer to your question now?
Okay,
Yes.
yes.
Give you an answer to your
Yes.
question. Okay, great. So the Transportation Authority was, they were giving us an update on, it was actually their bicycle and pedestrian pot of money, and within that is some safe routes to school stuff. So the projects I think would be relevant to your question. One is the Ponderosa Elementary School pedestrian and bike improvements, and the description, South San Francisco conducted a walk audit in partnership with San Mateo County Office of Education, funded by the TA, to evaluate student travel conditions near several schools, including Ponderosa Elementary School. Walk audit included school staff, city's bike and pedestrian advisory committee, and consultants. The planned improvements in Ponderosa Elementary School include curb extensions, corner islands, high visibility crosswalks, speed humps, and hardened center lines. There's some more stuff. They requested funding of $897,000, and they got $897,000.
Okay, but non-locally here.
The other one that would be relevant to is at Hatch Elementary School. So
Okay.
This project will construct a 500-foot ADA compliant pathway parallel to 2nd Avenue between Central Avenue and Myrtle Street to provide a safe route to Hatch Elementary. Bay and the beach. And so in doing so, will provide a fully separated bike and pedestrian path, removing conflict with vehicles along this corridor. Requested funding of $702,000 and received that. So it's clear, like, money exists to do that sort of stuff, and we just got to figure out how we get Farallon into this process, is my opinion.
They had a fatal accident at that location.
Oh, that's one that did happen there. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope we can get it fixed before
that.
Yes. Yeah. That your question?
Yeah, it's just that there's, as far as crossing the road, there's, every situation is different, but in some of these, slower, roads, I think I would, suggest that, the hand flag, versus the flashing lights, 2 reasons. One, the hand flag requires them to really kind of get eye contact. The flashing lights, there's been studies that say that it gives a false sense of security. Some people they think all they have to do is press the button and then they don't have to look. They just go right out. And so, you know, I don't think that it's good to train people crossing roads to not to have that eye contact. And, you know, holding the flag, it's less, you know, less visual impact with these flashing lights. And it also requires that people get used to, you know, being responsible, because there's not going to be people will be crossing roads everywhere. And, you know, it's just good to be, no matter where you are, to have the best habits.
Okay, well, that's all I think we have on transportation. So Greg, you want to give us a quick update on stormwater?
Yeah. So the good news is yesterday I got the funding numbers from the Department of Public Works that I asked for a year and a half ago on what stormwater funds are available for the Midcoast. I've also distributed copies of several chapters to the many contributors, and we're talking possibly 50 people who have contributed to this report today. My concern is the review process on this report. You've heard us mention the need for peer review. Did I mention I made contact to a former director of the National Weather Service? Did I mention that? So he's agreed to take a look at it, but I'm first going back to all the people who helped me write it. And I can't predict, especially with the engineers and geologists involved, how and when they're going to necessarily respond. So I'm comfortable putting this on an agenda for December. But whether or not I would consider it a fully vetted review draft, I think I would call it a review draft. Okay, in other words, something that's gone as far as I can with the responses I've gotten, and then we could ship it out, a working draft. Okay, and then we could ship it out for peer review, assuming we agree to fund a peer review of this. So, you know, while I won't be on the council, I'm happy to continue follow-up involvement into January, February, to try and bring this thing to a close, and without disclosing, you know, the conclusions, they're going to be important.
Okay. Cool. Does anybody have questions on stormwater? Okay. Okay. And do you want to give us
Unleaded fuel? Yeah, there was an announcement coming out of the county about availability of unleaded fuel now at Half Moon Bay and San Carlos airports, as I recall. I traded emails with Michelle Weil, who wrote Gretchen Kelly, because we're unclear while we're receiving what's called 100R fuel. We're still curious about, are they still using leaded fuel at Half Moon Bay Airport? We thought they weren't. So I don't have an answer to that yet. Michelle has asked, for instance, are you installing a second tank to offer multiple fuel types? And when will Half Moon Bay Airport get this 100R fuel? Because right now it's only San Carlos that's getting it immediately. But the good news is there is some momentum. Years later, 2 years later, 3 years later, there's some momentum toward getting unleaded fuel at Half Moon Bay. And that's the update. Great. Yes.
Can I add briefly to that? What I wanted that on there, not just so we would have the information, but to give people, especially prospective new members of the MCC, some perspective of what we do. This was Harold, who is now deceased, who pushed this. This was Michelle Weil, who was an MCC member who is no longer here, who pushed this. We talked at length to people involved with the issue of leaded airplane fuel. At first, they said it was impossible to do anything about it. But we made our point, we talked to the right people, and then we let it go, and the right people did something right. And I think it is going to happen. It's just a question of a little bit more time. So what we do here doesn't always show immediate results, but it often does show results even after we're gone. So I think it's really good news.
Awesome. All right.
Natalie has her hand raised. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she wants to do public comment. So,
Oh, okay.
all right. So now, public comment on items not on the agenda. I think we have first. Let's do in the room. So I want to call Randy first, and then whoever's behind Randy.
But we also have emailed public comment.
Yes. Yep. So we'll do room first, and then we'll do the Zoom, and then we'll do email. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Randy Jones. I I've lived here on the coast for 16 years. My husband, Steve, and my two dogs, Kai and Katana. And I love living here. It took me a long time to find Half Moon Bay and the coast. And I lived in New York and Louisiana and Texas. And we finally found a home here, and we plan on being here until we die. And we want to make sure it stays nice. We want to get to know our neighbors. I have a passion for working with people with developmental disabilities. I'm a long-term care ombudsman right now with the county. And I want to make sure that we have the support for the people here that live on the coast. And I was talking to Gus and thought that this would be a place to come and get to know what's actually happening where I live. So that's pretty much me.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks for
Really
your
appreciate it.
interest.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name is Gita Bauer. I live at 545 Alameda and since a decade. And since 4 years, I'm fascinated by the subject of story polls. Because we've got our coffee in our throats one Sunday morning, like, oh, and so we went to the design review committee and like 3 times because of that project. And I followed up because then it turned out that the story polls disappeared. And so I left stuff at that, but then now in September, there was another project in our neighborhood and no story polls. So I kind of looked at that. And I sent you actually a thing late today where well, I've sent you stuff before, so you know. But the story polls, I used what they call the chair report. What is it they say? The chairperson notes to try and understand what happened to the story polls. And so I wrote about that in Coastside Bust, and it's a long story. It starts in 2019. And since then, at every meeting, the design review committee has said, well, what about those story polls? And every time people say, well, what happened to them? Because we had them for 100 years and everything worked fine. And then they disappeared. And I don't think you could ask any one of them and get an answer to what happened to the story poll. The county planner will say, well, it was a policy. It wasn't a requirement. We need an ordinance. And so it continues, and they published in October, they had a 2-hour meeting, and they thought, okay, maybe we can start again, and we're going to look at all the old notes. And so you can find the old notes if you go to the agenda and the correspondence. So then you get some more insights. But I think it's a problem that you can't they don't understand what happened to the story polls. Like I took a quote from Katie Kutztik, where she says that, well, I put it in the, I may never understand the difference between a policy and regulation as far as how they are enforced differently. Seems like it's either a requirement or it's not, especially if a policy says they're required. So I think we should know why there are no story polls, and it's not clear. And I also think why they don't keep up the website. So when you click on the chairperson notes now, the last note is in 2022. And when I asked Camille Leong about, okay, well, they don't have to do it legally, so they took it away. And that would be like the only way you can know what's the ongoing business. And it's still sort of, hard to decipher what C1 means and stuff. But I mean, not having anything, plus the thing is that, the members are supposed to sit for 3 years. So there should be new members. And if you look at the CDC meetings, they don't know. When they come in new, they start over again. And what happened to the story polls? There used to be story polls. And also you have wonderful sound and the audio and visual here. And they took away the audio and they claim they're using an owl that maybe needs more bandwidth. But they actually said in 2021 that let's get rid of the video because of the legal ramifications. And that's in one of their notes, the chairperson notes. Legal ramifications, what's that? All of this kind of contributes to that you have no insight. If you want to look at this as a resident, what's happening and why aren't there story polls? You can't find that. Plus, also, we're supposed to have an El Granada representative. Clinton Miles is supposed to represent El Granada December 12th, 2023 to March 31st, 2025. And he's not on the agenda. So I asked Camilo, what about that? And they say, he has not formally resigned, so he remains on the roster, but he's never appeared. So when we had the meeting now in October, it was the Moss Beach person. And if you look back, the agenda doesn't contain this person, but you know, and if you would want to be a representative, you would think they would, you know, you go to their website and it says that this Clinton Miles is a representative. It also has Rebecca Katkin, who used to be an architect, and she quit in March, but they don't update. So I just feel that there's too many things that I think the county planner weighs very heavy on people there. And last meeting, when there was the story poll meeting, someone started with saying, oh, what about the video? And then this junior planner said that, well, I think it's some, you know, it would mess up the sound if we have the video, so it doesn't work. And someone else started because they're not going to sort of underwrite the CEQA. And someone of them asked why, and he didn't get an answer. But then another member said, well, maybe it's because we're the last sort of part of the whole, you know, row of approving. It's just like, you know, you have to approve the new project. It goes to the MCC, and then you're supposed to agree. If you don't agree, then they go like, oh, we don't know how to indicate that happened just in October. So I would like, I even now doubt, why did they have to get rid of the story polls? It was very easy somehow to get rid of the story polls, but to put them back, you need all this. It takes a year, according to their plan. You can look at that on the agenda. It would take a year to get all the public input and the stakeholders, and everybody has to say something, but they could take it away without informing anyone. How could they take away story polls? They didn't say a word. You know, we don't know why they went away, but they could do that, and they took away the chairperson notes, which is the only way you could sort of see what's on there. You're supposed to go to their blackout video, audio, to sort of figure everything out. And to me, it's just like needs oversight. And I would like, actually, I think that this should go to the supervisor. He puts a person in place who doesn't go. They don't care. They take the story polls away, and it's just sort of by word. If you go to notes that Lisa said, it doesn't. Lisa something, and it's like, okay, is that really true?
So what I'm hearing is you would like us to follow up with the supervisor about what's going on at.
Yes, I would like to see, you know, why did the story polls go away? Was that legally required? And couldn't I have go, oops, we made a mistake. It was supposed to be required because we used this as required. So why don't we just fix it with some sort of simple maneuver instead of, now it's been 4.5 years, they're going to start over. If I was on the design review committee, I would go bonkers.
Well, I think that's a reasonable takeaway. Supervisor,
They'll be referred to in the mock-up for construction, right?
Yeah.
Mock-ups for
Yeah.
new construction.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the poles and the
Right.
orange net webbing thing.
Okay.
So it's, so the most irritating thing is that, so they did, in 2020, that I write, it's a standard, but you can also put up a poster. And then for some reason, they made the same thing in July of this year and said, the county and the community want story poles, but you can do what you prefer. It's the actual, how they put it. And it's like, why bother make another policy without requirement? It was like totally wasted time.
Yep. Well, we can I just want to make sure that I've got some other folks who want to give
Thank you for
comments. Okay, thank you. Yes. All right, let's
We
let's
have
go.
people in the room?
Oh, yeah. Okay, go for it.
Hi, my name's Tammy Fortin. I'm from Montera. Thank you for having me here tonight. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all the work you guys do, all the good work. I'm here in opposition to GGNRA's Montera Prairie Project. They're removing right now healthy adult native California trees and native coyote bush from the GGNRA trail system. I'm very alarmed that this project has already begun cutting down trees in priority area 1 without community consent, support, or public forum. The only mention in our community is a sandwich board on the boundary of proposed area 1 up on the trail. When I checked the website to inquire, I was met with a page stating the email address is unavailable for comment. This type of non-transparency and lack of two-way communication does not sit well with the citizens of Montera. I'm very much opposed to the specific proposal of priority area number 2 and the plan to cut the Monterey pine trees west and north of Fairlawn View Elementary School. This area is home to a long-standing family of great horned owls, as well as redtail, sharp-shinned Cooper's red-shouldered hawks, American kestrel, and peregrine falcon. Not to mention the countless mammals such as coyote, fox, bobcat, and mountain lions. This area is also home to countless songbirds, such as sparrows, phoebes, meadowlarks that inhabit the native California coyote bush. With climate change and hotter weather the norm, this stand of trees is a special respite and oasis, not only for wildlife, but for the children and the adults who live adjacent to this specific area. We are demanding that this area be safeguarded and not impacted by the GGNRA project. Any proposed removal of the trees in that area will be met with great resistance from our community. And it is my urgent request that that GGNRA please remove this from their proposal, this area. I'd like to know also if the council can help in this regard of delivering to the citizens of Montera an environmental impact report study, if one has been done, following up with them to make sure that the citizens know that they have a plan for the environmental impact that this kind of project will have on the wildlife of all the creatures in Montera. Has it been done in advance of the project? We have no idea. And will there be a future public forum on this topic for the citizens of Montera? Is there going to be any talk about this? We woke up one day and there was a sandwich board up on the trail. That's the only notice that we received. And they already have the chainsaws out. They're already cutting down 100-year-old trees. And people sometimes will say that there are no native trees in Montera, right? Well, what date are you referring to when you say there are no native trees in Montera? At one time, there were only dunes, then grassland, then trees. a natural biological progression. Also, with global warming, as stated earlier, the Monterey trees, their range has been moving northward gradually, naturally. Most importantly, the trees are already established and wildlife depend on them. They are important to the survival of many mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians. Has an environmental impact study been done in advance of this project? So important. And where is our public forum on this project? We demand that the trees of Montera be safeguarded from this project. Thank you for any help you might give to the citizens of Montera about this project. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for letting us know what happened, but I had no idea what was happening. All right, now let's go to Natalie and then to Chris.
Hi, thank you for hearing me. First of all, I want to say the previous speaker, this is a project I wasn't aware of, and I'm now very concerned that this is happening. And I would really love it if the MCC could get this on the agenda, or have the people who are in charge of the project actually come and talk to us about what the plans are and what the mitigations are, and give us a chance to be able to refute that. Going back to another speaker, I wanted to say that we have in our garden measurable issues with lead, and I'm having some issues with lead in my chickens, possibly from the leaded fuel in the airplanes. But neither of those things were what I came here to talk about. First of all, I wanted to see if the general public and the MCC board in general were aware of the new hotel proposed to be developed right next to Sam's, which I believe is in a spot that was previously proposed to have a development that was then denied based on blocking the view from El Granada. It's technically in Half Moon Bay because of the weird cherry stem, and the hotel is now proposed to be in that site. I don't know what the height of the previous proposition was, but this new hotel, Aaron's Beach Inn, will be in that plot next to Sam's, and will, with the pergola attached on top, as planned. It's 3 stories plus pergola on top, so it will be over 37 feet high. So it will block a lot of the view resources from a lot of people in the neighborhood. And I know that there's going to be concern about this, so just wanted to make sure that people knew that this was happening and knew how tall it was going to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Chris?
Hi, everyone. I hope that my voice is coming through okay. I'm kind of in a weird remote location. So, and the bandwidth goes in and out. So I'll quickly say that I'm calling in tonight to introduce myself and to state my interest in serving on the MCC, with the understanding that there are several seats that have gone unfilled, and that will be filled at the discretion of the current board members, or the ones that will stay, as well as the Board of Supervisors. And some of you know me and have worked with me to greater or lesser degrees. I'm been an environmental consultant for more than 35 years. I currently have my own practice in El Granada, where I live. I work with landowners, municipalities, commercial and industrial clients. And I have experience and expertise in biological resources and wetlands and riparian habitats. In particular benefit to this council, I am also an expert in various regulatory processes related to biological resources and wetlands, including CEQA and the coastal permitting. I've worked with California Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Army Corps and the water boards and the Coastal Commission. And I've done conservation planning and working on preservation and informed use of public and private land. I've also been a manager and a mentor in my past, working for corporate environmental consulting firms. And I continue to work as an advocate on behalf of these kinds of issues. And I'd like to offer my expertise and my perspective to the community through serving on the MCC, if you will have me. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. All right, any other public comments? No. Then on we go to consent agenda. So we have some items on the consent agenda. We have minutes from the 23rd and the 30th.
Not quite.
We don't have the 30th.
No, so I apologize. I did not finish the minutes for the 30th yet. They'll be prepared for the next meeting. So I move that we postpone the minutes for the 30th to the next meeting.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Sure, I second that.
Okay, great. All right, well, I say the other things we're approving up to $100 for commemorative tokens for retiring council members and $100 cost for Google Drive storage so we can fit the stormwater report on the other. Yes, Kimberly.
So in that last item, we don't need to vote on that, or do we have to vote on it?
Well, yeah, we'll vote the consent, right? So that would include.
Okay.
Well, I do want to make a note here.
Yeah.
Because we received from Dave Olson, a longtime MCC council member, an email stating that we need more detail when approving expenditures. And he's saying that 4C, the Google Drive storage, is not detailed enough. I explained to him, he pointed out that we had approved Google Drive storage years ago for 5 years. So I wrote him back and explained we needed a lot more. And that's why this agenda item was here. So I leave it to the council to decide whether or not they think this item can remain on the consent agenda.
Well, if we don't think so, we can ask that it be removed.
Let's just pull it. I'll ask to pull it and we can discuss it later so we can move on, keep moving.
Yes.
I actually have a question about the request for money for I think you said tokens. I don't really understand what that is, so.
Whose idea was the
Claire?
Last time people went off the council, we got mugs with their name and the dates of service and an MCC logo to give them. I think it was a nice thing.
So it's more like a thank you gift.
Yeah.
Okay, commemorative token to me sounded like I don't know, that just is a different kind of thing than a thank you,
Put in the
a thank you
New Jersey
gift.
Turnpike to get through the, right, like one of those tokens.
No, I mean, it just sounded like a monument to service or something, which I don't think is what we intended.
We were discussing it, we're not supposed to.
Okay.
So
So we're pulling for
pulling
item
C.
C for sure.
Yeah. So everybody okay? So we would, the consent agenda now will only have October 23rd minutes and $100 for Google Drive. No, sorry, $100
Google
for
Drive.
the mugs.
Mugs.
$100 for mugs. Okay.
Do you need a second, or you want to vote, or what's?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, great. Kimberly will take the roll.
yes. Gus,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
did I say Dan?
Yes.
And Kimberly is a yes.
Great. Awesome. On we go. Regular agenda. So first up is the very fresh invitation to ban management letter, which I'm okay if we want to simply talk about it today, but put it on the consent agenda next time, since I just only got it out. I just only finished it at 9 minutes after 6. Today. So, but if we could just at least talk about it today, and then we want to formally delay the vote until next time, so folks in the community can read it before we do that. I'm fine with that.
Can you summarize the content?
Sure, I can summarize the content really quickly before I do come in. Yes.
I guess my question is there any relevant deadline for getting this out to?
I thought the comments are due November 22nd.
I think they are due before our next meeting. I mean, we
They usually give an extension though.
I could ask for an extension, or I could just sort of say, well, if we feel like the letter is likely to end up on the consent agenda, I could just say, Sean, here's a preview, so that preview of the letter, it's not the formal one will come at our next meeting, but here's a preview of it, so he just knows what it's going to say. If there was a way with that.
I guess my concern would be that, I'm okay with that. It's just, is there a reason why she would need it in hand to support a project? And
I don't know, I would have to ask her.
I think the thing is, it's so conceptual at this point that, you know, seems like. You know, they presented us and it seems like that they didn't have anything specific when they were presenting, so. You know, we're commenting on a very conceptual. Movement.
Yeah, I mean, the letter basically says, you know, the findings that they presented all seemed reasonable in the sense of identifying that there aren't a lot of alternative transportation options other than driving here on the coast. That's equity priority communities are probably particularly impacted by that. What options do exist, most people don't know about. You know, so I sort of listed some of that stuff. So here are points where we agree, like a lot of what you said seemed fine. And then I pointed out kind of two things. One is from a process perspective, I think there were opportunities to get more inputs and more engagement with Midcoast, like just citizens. I'm recommending they do more of that going forward. And then two, just like the evergreen issue of how there hasn't been really any planning for evacuation from the coast. So this, which I don't think this project is intended to deal with that at all. Like this project is intended to deal with just like the everyday going about our normal business transportation stuff. But what I said was, but it is an issue that remains unaddressed by county government, and we would love to have your partnership in helping elevate that to a sort of actual robust discussion of evacuation, even though it's not likely to be part of this umbrella. Yes.
So, Dan's right, their presentation was vague, it wasn't very specific.
Right.
And this letter is not very specific, it's vague, but it keeps the line of communication between us and them fresh, and I support it because of that. It keeps the communication open.
Right.
Yeah. That's all I asked, really.
Yeah. Greg and then Camilla.
I also support it. I just wanted to emphasize the evacuation issue. Because to me, paramount decision criterion in transportation planning here has to be the consideration of evacuation. So you're saying that the thrust of what they're doing isn't evacuation. Well, they better take it into account. Because I don't want us to be in more trouble than we already are. And I have the map showing how we were the 14th worst evacuation region in the state or the country that Harold Herman gave me, if you want to see it.
so maybe I'm a little confused. We're talking about the transportation demand management study.
Correct, that they presented last time.
Okay, so my understanding was it's in the study phase and they're getting feedback on the draft. The deadline for the input to the draft is the 22nd, at which point they'll move to finalizing an actual plan. And our next meeting is December 4th, is that correct?
11th.
So we're not going to do December 4th. Okay. At which point it will be final. And this would be our only opportunity unless we weigh in individually to weigh in on the project and ask for any changes or consideration of, any other things to add to the plan.
Yeah, were there any other things you wanted to add?
Well,
Other than just-
during the meeting, there were several things that were brought up, right? And so, I think that the TDM is pretty good as it is. There were, and I have the benefit of just having listened to this to finalize my notes, right? So, there were some specific issues that we discussed here that we wanted to include. And I guess I'm wondering, did we really is that important enough to ask that those things are written into the plan, or do we think that our verbal feedback was enough?
Were they things that were not, like, I remember discussing, we discussed like bus service, but that's actually already in their plan, so.
So like bus service, there were several things like lengthening the time that it runs at night, to extend it to 8 p.m. or 9 p.m.
I think we also talked about shuttle service.
Smaller vehicle, transportation vehicles versus larger ones. I mean, there was a list of things. And so that's my only concern is, do we think those things will make it into the final, even if, if we don't reiterate that in a written letter?
I can't see that they're gonna jam it through. Yes, there were, I don't know, 6 or 7 hypothetical things that they were kind of proposing. Some of them were, giant structures on the sand to store a surfboard. Insane, right? Some of the, and I made some comments, giant digital lights saying, hey, parking lot's full, go somewhere else. None of these were specific. They were just kind of like conceptual ideas. So I don't see that they should be allowed to like make any decision and then final decision and then just say, okay, well, we got a warm feeling from the MCC. Our warm feeling is just to stay in contact and work with them in the future, but we're not approving anything.
They've got where they said they are, so public review and comment period, October 16th to November 22nd. Draft final plan in December 2024, and then final plan for consideration in early 2025. So I don't think it's finalized.
So you think there's still room for?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I wanted to know, because I mean, I think I captured these things in the minutes if you looked at them. So, I guess I'm happy to look at this now and delay. And if Chanda thinks that that's okay, and we can still reiterate some of these things that we wanted to see in the final plan, and it will have an impact, then that's great. If she, on the other hand, says, well, that'll be too late, then that would be concerning to me.
So I appreciate her comments there. So are we thinking that we could have a more detailed letter to vote on December 11th that would still bear on the final plan?
I don't know if I'm not asking her whether she'd accept.
I don't think there's any reason to stress the MCC through the holidays.
We have a meeting on the 11th anyway.
Well, we're gonna be busy. There's other things to talk about. I think the most important thing that we could have in this letter is, hey, we're happy to work with you, but give us enough time in the community to digest whatever you're gonna propose.
So I think what they're asking for now is just comments. What do you want, right? They're not saying, here's our final plan, right? Please review that.
It's a
They're
draft.
just looking for stuff that they think that we want. And that's all we're saying, more buses, times, all that kind of stuff, more options. So unless we can say anything in particular.
Yeah, I referred to expanding bus service without being as specific as increase the.
And that's reasonable, right? Those are, we mentioned reasonable things in it, so.
And take that as an example, there were at least 3 people who mentioned that at that meeting, to extend the service to at least 8 p.m. So that's very specific.
Do you want me to edit it right now?
Well, I mean, I guess that's the next step. If we're going to wait till December 11th and we think that that's going to have an impact, then we should talk about what should be in here that maybe isn't.
Wait a minute, let me understand. Is the decision to either edit this letter right now or approve it into a second letter on December 11th or something else?
And the corollary is, the reason we're not going to vote on the letter as is right now because it was posted late, or because we don't disagree with it?
Yeah.
I think it's because we haven't had time to I haven't had time to read this.
None of us.
I did. I read it.
I read it.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah, so
I mean, I don't mind I don't mind delaying it until, I don't think we should vote on 2 letters, like I.
no, one is good for now.
I'm fine with delaying it, I just don't know if Shonda will accept it, if it's that.
I don't
December
really-
11th is, like, whatever, that's.
I don't really
3 weeks
oppose,
after their deadline, so. Yes.
I'm sorry. I would be willing to approve it, except for the fact that we've got it late, but I've read it now. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
So
I think it's fine.
I agree with Claire.
So I would be okay with that if
If,
we could look at the list that's in the minutes to ensure that those things community members and council members felt strongly about are included.
okay, we read the list, we can do.
So if you open up the minutes,
Somebody read, I don't have the minutes open.
and I'm sorry, I don't
Sherry,
have my laptop tonight.
There's also a couple of public community members that have their hand up.
Okay, so I will now share.
Let me make the changes and then I'll open it to community feedback.
I'm gonna try and share the minutes of the 23rd. I'm down here under Transportation Demand Management Plan. And I see comments, importance on equity. Kimberly wanted engagement opportunities for the unincorporated Midcoast residents.
Yep, talk about that.
Scott asked, what's the northernmost boundary that's from Montferra? Dan asked about the Fallen Highway 1. Programming traffic lights to allow movement forward when there are no barriers.
So I think she said that was not within the scope of this particular project, but the one that follows that, which is what Dan just mentioned.
Road signs, storage lockers, and other infrastructure are cited to ensure that these don't impact visual resources. So cut and pasting that in is a useful bullet point. You want me to see if I can cut and paste these into chat and then you can cut and paste them into your thing? Is that possible?
Sure.
I can't do that though while I'm sharing my screen. I can't find a way to send. So I can't. While I'm sharing the screen, I cannot seem
I'm
to.
sorry.
Lisa was wearing her. She may be able to help you.
Lisa, you have something?
Yeah, it's more helpful if I could just comment before you get into the nitty gritty here. Just wanted to, they made this presentation at the Planning Commission this morning. It's very interesting. And you've heard this before, but basically, this is not about any infrastructure projects. This is just a plan. And therefore the specifics about timing signals or what the storage lockers would look like. There's no storage lockers per se planned here. This is just policy plan. And it's also about reducing vehicle miles traveled. So therefore the evacuation, that's a separate thing too, that this doesn't encompass. I hope that helps. That's all. Thanks.
Okay.
And I think the letter looks good.
Thank you.
You want me to read the next thing?
One second, I was adding,
Road signs, storage lockers, and other infrastructure are cited to ensure these don't impact visual resources.
yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
One good spot for that, so why keep wheeling, so I don't come out.
Dan also expressed that smaller transit vehicles are more nimble and easier to maneuver on the coast side.
More specifically, more clearly, I objected to the extra long ones. The standard ones that we have today are fine.
What?
Yeah,
The way
I
it
think,
reads, it's like smaller, even though it's smaller.
I think Michelle Dragony also made the same point.
Okay, I just added the thing about visual resources.
Okay, Claire said she's a fan of Ride Plus, however, less than half the Midcoast is served. She'd like the service extended. And she noted the timing that the service is available isn't optimal, and she suggested adjusting the timing to 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And as Kimberly said, I think we heard that several times.
Yeah.
I think those buses.
He'd only read his minutes before he wrote his.
It's last minute letter.
I was busy writing this letter.
Well,
I think what I objected to, I think they call them tandem buses, is that
Right.
correct? I think
Yeah.
It is.
it
So
has a extra
we don't
trailer
want
added.
the Tandem buses down here because it will just cause a lot of.
Have they ever been filled?
They'd be nuts to put tandem buses there.
I could just see one going up Devil Slide in Pacifica, and I don't ride my bike on that road.
With 2 passengers.
It was proposed in the past.
You know, what we could do is approve the letter subject to him incorporating these comments from. the
I'm okay
minutes.
with that
Yes.
too.
It's
If you,
not
if you want to do that,
Line by line in this meeting.
Okay.
yeah,
Let's
If
do
you
that.
guys want, we can appoint
I just want to,
oversight. I will do it tonight.
it's fine. I just,
Oversight committee of whoever the people want to be to read what he does.
I'm okay with that. I just want to agree on what the items are that need to be added. So if we could just do that really quickly
Yeah.
so that we're on the
So
same
I
page.
said there's no survey of transportation use cases included. And I pointed to things like home delivery, shopping, recreation, restaurant going and so forth. I suggested, and this is a key point for me, extending it north to Pacifica.
Yeah.
Because Pacifica is a major issue for the people. in
I don't
Ontario.
think they would, for that particular point, I think that's something to point out for future changes, because I think that Chanda said that that was not included in the scope that was funded for this project.
Which raises the question of just because somebody says they can't do something, do you give up or do you stress the point?
Well, no, I think we can put it in there, but with the realization that it's not within the scope of this
Okay.
particular piece of the project.
So are you, so.
Let me
One second.
let me finish reading this.
Okay.
I also suggested the BMT, and I'll say it this way, is less relevant now. But even though it's a state standard, it's really, with electric vehicles becoming predominant, delay index is more relevant. And then I suggested congestion pricing or parking surcharges, although I know those won't be popular. And we're not going to ask Gus to type us all. We're doing is going
No.
through the minutes. Kimberly made the point that GGNRA's plans to increase visitors have to be on the radar for this. That could be a real issue. The more parking we create, the more people we're going to get.
Yeah, I think they did hear that, but yeah.
And then public comments, Catherine said her commenter, that we need for funding, importance of covering the needs of families and seniors on the Midcoast. Michelle Dragony commented, she tried the ride share, the app was limited and extending bus hours later in the evening would be helpful. Express a preference for small buses, okay, blah, blah, blah. Rob Skidder asked why Pescadero wasn't included. Rob is on the board at PMAC. And he was told it wasn't covered by funding parameters.
So those are the big things. If those are in the letter or you're going to add them to the letter. Yes. I'm okay.
So I propose an amendment that we approve this letter subject to edits made by Gus to incorporate the comments made in the minutes of October 23rd under agenda item 5A.
I second.
Discussion, yes, Dan.
Discussion on the amendment, which is a process amendment.
There may be another amendment. You want to wait?
Go ahead.
Do we really have to encourage hope for a driverless vehicle strategy? And do we fully understand?
San Mateo County's working hard on that right now. We got.
I'm just saying for here.
Half-hour presentation about that in the transportation.
I'm saying down here.
Yeah.
We have a unique situation here. Do we really want to encourage that?
Driverless is the only way you will ever get expanded service here. Because
So,
otherwise you can't, you will not be
You
able to make
understand that they could populate, right, with an enormous amount of driverless cars, when the majority are coming and won't be using this. And so these cars will be in the way unnecessarily. Potentially.
Well, that's the whole point, is to recommend that their strategy be coordinated with the driverless car strategy that San Mateo County is actually working on right now.
Says we further hope that San Mateo County develops a driverless vehicle strategy.
Yes, which they are doing. They are in the middle of doing that.
What does that mean anyway? What does that mean? Does it mean like a driverless bus?
So a strategy.
Like not necessarily buses. I mean, buses could be part of it.
Uber,
But
taxi,
vehicles, like
Waymo?
yes, like that.
It's here, it's already here, it's.
Well, yeah, but the county has to have a policy for it, like when are they gonna allow it, under what conditions, like all that stuff is being worked out right now.
Okay.
So, yes.
So there is a great video online about all these driverless cars in New York City who park themselves. And they get in each other's way in the parking lot in the middle of the night and they're all honking. And
Yeah,
waking up
I've
the
seen
neighbors
that,
and they
yeah.
can't park. So I think part of what Dan is alluding to is that it's not clear the technology is yet appropriate. That's the point.
Yeah. All I'm saying is there should be coordination. Because that is likely to be, like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to, like, not gonna be able to pay for bus service here. Like, there aren't enough people using it to merit the amount of money you end up spending on the drivers. Like, the cost is entirely the drivers. Like, that's what separates us from having bus service.
That is not true, Gus.
That is 1,000% true, Dan.
No, there's maintenance,
Can we take a
there's the
vote?
cost of the operation.
I'm worried about your math, thousands.
I majored in math, trust me, that's how it works.
All right, then, you're an expert. Okay.
So the vote on the table and the amendment is to include these extra comments.
Yeah.
And Dan, you're questioning whether we should allow the coordination with driverless cars to stand.
The sentence seems a little too warm for me, you know,
We get another chance to comment on the plan, don't we?
We do. Yeah.
I would leave it alone.
Would you feel more comfortable if it was stated in a different way, sort of forward looking as opposed to, you know, impact immediately?
we'd like to have the opportunity to comment further on driverless vehicles in our area. That's,
Okay, I'd accept that amendment to the amendment.
Yes, I'll go with that.
All right, amendment to the amendment accepted. Kimberly, would you accept that amendment to the amendment as a seconder?
It's getting really complicated, yes.
If you accept the amendment to the amendment as seconder, then we can vote on the amendment.
Yes, I accept that change and second it.
All right.
Do it, call it.
Okay, Dan,
All
you got
right,
it.
are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Yes,
Greg,
yes.
Gus,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Dan,
yes.
Claire,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
and Kimberly is a yes. It passes 7-0.
Awesome. All right, go team. And then next up, communications.
Finally.
Yeah.
Can I raise a point of order just for a second? We had a question in the chat about whether we had other public comments to read for this meeting.
Oh, yes. you did.
And I saw Tammy's and she's spoken. I saw Brigitta's, she spoke. I don't see other public comments that we should have read. Does anybody else?
No,
Where-
did they have a specific thing they were asking? Did they have something in mind?
I don't know. Was Burnett asking, had we covered it? And I think we
I
did
think
cover
the
it. I'm
answer
just
is
checking
yes.
as a point of order. Did we cover all the public comments we're aware of?
Are those,
No, because
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
are
they
those
were
comments that would have come in,
just recently, yeah.
yeah, it was this GGNR one, but that was, and then the storage box thing.
Okay. Okay, onward.
All right, then on we go to communications policy. Take it away.
Would you be willing to present it?
I feel at a loss without my laptop unless you want to put it on this.
Do you want to use my laptop?
Sure. Did everyone get a chance to look at the changes that were made in response to feedback from last time? Everyone seen the document, or do I need to highlight all of the changes?
All such a strong word. You give it a couple highlights.
seen-
By the time you're done doing highlights, I would.
Okay. Well, the first thing I would call out is item number 1, which is clarification of existing MCC communication policy and additional policy language.
Could we put it on the screen, you think?
I think that would be great. I don't know how to do that on your computer.
I would have to be made, given the ability to do that.
Okay, give you a second.
So while you're doing that, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you believe that
Go
I've
ahead.
broken any of these communication policies so far?
Oh, that's very direct.
Because I went through them, I'm like, I don't, I'm like, I would support this and I would vote yes, but I'm not sure. I mean, they're fairly strict about
I
what I'm allowed
suspect-
to do.
Right. I suspect that all of us may have stepped over the line in some regard at some point.
Okay.
And I'll just say that, and that this is to help us, to help guide us in adhering to these in a, you know, in a more strategic way than we have been.
Because
So-
I'd certainly be willing to accept criticism and change my behavior if someone pointed out one of these rules that I broke. And
I
but
don't think the intent tonight is to point out who broke what rules.
no, but I'm saying in the future, moving in the future, I was like, oh my God, I think I broke all these rules.
Yeah, I think I just broke a couple of them earlier today.
So
Yes.
I think what these are guidelines, policies that, you know, are guidelines for us to follow. And in the event that we transgress and we, you know, break one of these policies, then we would discuss it and remedy the situation. I mean, that's all you can do, right?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
That is not to encourage you to routinely go against the policy.
So just to clarify, when Birgitta, if I'm pronouncing your name right, wrote me personally,
Mhm.
I wrote her back and said, share it with the council. Which I think is okay.
You wrote Brigitte back and said,
share the
your,
email that you give me and share it with the council.
but
And
that
she did.
email that you sent to her, you did not share with the entire council.
I did not share my direct reply to her. I let her reply to the council.
I think that is what we would want, right?
Yeah, I think it's saying, in that case, you're supposed to send a copy of what you sent her along with her original email
To
to
Gus.
Gus. And then leave it at that.
And this
Okay,
is
well,
like
that puts
one of the
my
first
comment
things,
on
right?
this item one then is the burden it's gonna put on the chair.
Well, that's that's why they get the big bucks.
They've gotta really be responsive because there's a lot of stuff going on, you know, and if none of us can reply to anybody who sends something to the council except the chair, I think we're gonna have time delays.
That wasn't my understanding of what that.
Any
So this-
response to an email sent to the entire council is a responsibility of the chair to reply or someone
Right,
else the chair.
Anything that's sent to
delegates.
the entire council,
Right.
right? But it's,
Right.
but when somebody says something to you.
No, I'm talking
You-
about
you-
other emails that came to the council.
Okay.
It's your responsibility unless you delegate somebody else. So the workaround, I would say, is that the chair needs to smartly delegate another officer or two
Proactively.
to be a responsive responder.
What we're trying to avoid is having multiple people respond, perhaps in different ways. And perhaps expressing things that the MCC is actually not taking a position on. And then also perhaps having crosstalk, because we're all seeing somebody else's response to, and it becomes sort of a semi-deliberative
Okay, so
All
you-
valid,
process.
but a
Yes,
response that's
okay.
procedural in nature.
So it becomes a serial conversation,
I
right?
know, and I
Response
now I
is
understand
procedural
your
only in
intent,
nature,
and I
which seems to
understand
allow
why we do it, and I understand the importance of
Okay.
that. I do understand now.
So, I mean, for those two items, 1A and 1B, do you feel that there's a better way to state those, or are they clear as they are?
I would suggest any response aside from procedural matters to an email sent to the entire council.
What would be the procedural would be under, like, what time is the meeting?
Or what the next step in presenting your issue should be.
I think that should be shared with the chair.
Okay.
Dan,
Historically, at the retreat, beginning of each year. The council, the county council has been able to kind of give us the gist of the Brown Act to solve a lot of these problems. And so we're kind of essentially, and even though some people think, oh, I've already heard it, you should hear it again. Just very simple and be reminded and have your ears open. And because it's important to you fully understand. You get a year going by and, you think you know it all. And, you turn around, you make a mistake, an honest mistake. So I think that, my opinion, most of this should be, covered, with the, presentation from the, County Council on the Brown Act.
So I think you made this point before and I heard it. I think, that is important and we will, I'm assuming, have Tim Fox come at the beginning of the year and do that as he does every year. And a refresher is always helpful. And I certainly, for myself, don't think that I have a grasp on this or know everything. But I think the value in these policies and guidelines is that it pulls out the places where we keep running into trouble. And it's kind of a reminder. It's like a cheat sheet so that you don't have to go back and look through conversations with Tim Fox or to, find other ways to remind yourself. You have this handy list of policies that can remind you when you need to look at it quickly and decide whether an action that you're about to take meets is in line with the guidance. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, it's just a supplement that helps us to do better, is the way I'm looking at it.
As a point of process, Lisa made the point that she thinks it would be better to have the changes made in the actual document. Is that the intent of this?
So that's what I was going to get to, right? So I was going to point out the major changes. I thought item 1A and 1B, those were things that we discussed last time at more length. But ultimately, if you approve of this language, it would be integrated into the policies that already exist. And so at the beginning of each section, so for instance, this one says clarification of existing MCC communication policy and additional policy language. That means that these would be added to the policy that already exists. And that's true of all the sections in this document. They all refer to particular sections in the existing policy that these would be added to. Does that seem clear?
Oh, yeah, that does. Yeah, that does.
But overall, just from my comment as council member, I'm fine with going ahead with this.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with it too.
So for just going back to item 1A and 1B, is the language there adequate, or is it, and I'm a little concerned that there seems to be some confusion. So is there anything that would make those two things more clear? Do we think we understand what these mean? Good.
Sorry, what, just 1A and 1B or the entire thing?
Just for 1A and 1B for now.
Like 1A and 1B, I have no problem with 1A.
So that's clear. Anyone else have an issue with 1A or 1B? Hearing none. I'm gonna move on down. The next part that and there were some minor changes that you asked for that I incorporated, but the next piece that I think was kind of, that had a substantial change was item number 3B. And that is when individual council members or others pursue issues that are of interest to them in the hopes of either eventually bringing an agenda item or following an ongoing issue, there should be oversight or direction from the council and or the chair to ensure that requests made to other bodies or individuals are not overwhelming or reflect negatively on the MCC.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay. The next substantial change that we made was to item 4. So we would add the following language to the MCC policies and procedures under the section committee creation policies. And I just want to remind you all that, especially for Gus's benefit, that there was a suggestion made to have 2 different sections. One, standing committee creation policies and ad hoc committee creation policies. And Claire and I discussed this issue and we came to the conclusion that there are no ad hoc committees according to the current policy. And so what we have is ad hoc assignments, which I've changed that language in that paragraph. Because formal committees require certain things to happen when you establish a committee. And if it just is an assignment to a couple of people to look into an issue, then that's really an ad hoc assignment. It's not a committee. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we wouldn't be changing those and creating a separate section for that. So I'll just read that paragraph. If a framework for addressing a certain matter has been established by the MCC, whether by formal committee or ad hoc assignment, no other member of the council shall communicate about or involve themselves in the matter as an MCC representative outside of a regular meeting, including by written correspondence. If a council member wishes to speak or write on the matter as an individual, the council member must clearly state that they aren't representing or speaking on behalf of the MCC in accordance with MCC policies and procedures, communications, item E, individual council member communications on public matters. So that just refers them to that particular policy in the current policies that exist. Is that clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Any concerns?
No, that's good.
And I think those were the big things. There were.
I'd like to talk about one of the things under item 5A, but when we get
5A.
there.
Well, so, okay, so then going on to 5A, what's your
The
concern?
fourth little circle there. It's okay to say my personal view is X, but not to say I think the MCC made a mistake when they approved position Y on providing an interpretation of the MCC's view.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Like if somebody just were to ask me, do you agree with like a vote that was X or nothing? Is there
But you can say, here's what I think, rather than criticizing what happened in the meeting or rehashing what happened in the meeting.
I struggle with this because I think it's a thing about framing, right? And so if you're writing something and you're framing it as, if you say, I don't agree with the MCC on this, as an individual, I don't agree with this stance.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. You have the right to disagree. I think and maybe this is problematic, but I think if you frame it in such a way that you're making it sound like you're correcting that the MCC intended one thing and you're correcting it to mean something else, which is their true intention. That crosses the line. And so maybe that's not stated in a way that
that's not how that.
And also the word say, are you referring to conversation or written correspondence here? Because it said say, I mean.
I think it's true of whether you say it verbally or in writing, but for these, I think we were specifically referring to written comments.
Maybe just change the word sake.
So from a contextual standpoint, let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Something is presented and we vote on it. I could vote no and Kimberly could vote yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's very literal on how it happened. I didn't approve it. Kimberly did approve it.
Right.
It's in the public record.
Mm-hmm.
If I come out as an MCC member and say, I didn't approve of that, I did it in public and now I'm doing it in public again. Have I broken that rule?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay, but that's kind of what you're talking about. I'm criticizing something that we've done and I say, I don't agree with
Well,
it.
that's not a criticism to say that you disagree. So.
Oh, okay. If that's true, I don't understand the difference, but if that's true, I'm fine with it. It's okay. But do you understand?
So how would you tweak I understand what you're saying. I think to say that you disagree is not a criticism. It's just stating the obvious that you disagree. Criticism would be much more detailed.
Okay.
So Gus, how would you restate that particular piece?
Yeah, I have to think about that for a second, because like the thing you just said is okay, seemed to me to be what is said here, which said is not okay. And yes, Dan.
It's just that in our bylaws, for the MCC, there's a lot of language about, informality, you know. I do get that there's certain, cheat sheet items here that are probably beneficial just to have on a piece of paper. But, I think we're kind of over, I don't think it needs to be so, extremely formal and specific. I think there's the spirit, we should all just kind of guide on the spirit, and I think it takes a lot of pressure off the future chairs. It takes pressure off of, the members. Takes pressure off of people coming from the community that would like to participate. If it's too strict, and but I get with the spirit, but you're trying to put it in exact language, and that's where we're stuck at right now.
I think sort of along the lines of what Dan is saying, like, I think it just needs to, like, what this bullet is trying to communicate, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that you should only ever be offering your own personal take.
Right.
Like, you should never say something that could be construed as speaking not just for yourself, but also for anybody else on this council. That's how I interpret, I am providing an interpretation of the MCC's view, because the MCC's view is a 7-person view versus my own personal view on what happened.
And
I think that's exactly what we were trying to achieve.
And it's fundamental that at the beginning that everybody understands that concept. They're fully understanding that concept. I don't think we're gonna have all these as many problems. So
Well, I think this is meant to have, I mean, it's meant to be flexible. It's not meant to be strict, but it is a reminder. And so, so there's two things here. So let me go back to this. For that particular sentence, I think we could remove that piece and just give the example of I'm providing an interpretation of the MCC's view. Would that, or you would remove it completely?
I think I would re-engineer the entire bullet point to say something like all communications should very clearly indicate that the perspective being communicated is solely your own, and no way, shape, or form represents anyone else's perspective on the council. Like that's.
And you don't think that that's stated, that's a reiteration of what was already stated previously? Okay, or in the current policy? I think here I was just trying to provide an example, so maybe we don't need the example. I'm okay with removing the example if others agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Claire, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
So we'll remove that particular example and strike it from the.
I think we were trying to respond to something that happened, and I can't even remember what it was that happened.
Right.
So it's a little hard to.
I think you're right. This was in direct response to
We don't have to
what we
remember what it
felt
was.
was a violation.
Sure.
But then to Dan's point, now shifting back to Dan's point, I think the reason for this to begin with, and the reason that we have an existing communications policy, which Lisa commented on earlier, is that we do keep having these particular problems, and this is meant to just target the specific problems that keep popping up. So, you know, that's kind of what it's oriented towards. So are you okay with removing that one piece, but okay with the rest of it?
yes.
Okay. Okay, so is there anything else, Gus, on that?
That was the only.
I move we adopt the letter as amended.
Second.
Oh,
Let's vote. I'm ready.
okay, we're all good with that?
Yeah.
So who was the second?
Good.
Dan seconded.
Dan. Okay.
Do we have any, are there any public comments on this communication policy? Anyone want to say anything? No. Okay, great, awesome, love it, it's simple.
Ready ready to vote?
Yeah, ready to vote?
Okay, Greg,
Yes.
Gus,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Claire,
Yes,
Anne,
Yes.
and Kimberly is a yes. Thank you. Passes 7-0.
Nice. Awesome. All right, council activity.
No, we pulled from consent
Oh,
agenda
right.
at least the $1 Google storage. Did we pull the mugs or not?
No, we didn't. Vote on
We voted on the
Okay, so
vote.
what discussion do you want on the Google storage? Do you want me to re-explain the reason?
I mean, I'll do it and then.
Okay.
So I mean, so the stormwater report is gonna be gigantic in terms of just like how much storage it will take. The existing MCC account will not hold it. So in order for us to be able to post it, so the public can look at it, all that kind of stuff, we have to increase the amount of storage. And the next sort of thing
Tier.
up,
Yeah.
tier, thank you, next tier. Promise I'm a native speaker. The next tier is gonna cost us $900 a year,
So this is a one-time purchase
like
for
a
a
year,
period.
it'd be an annual purchase.
Yeah, so there'd be no reason to have it after a year. And it's not
Well,
gonna be,
we want
it's
to
not
be-
gonna turn
well,
into, you have to re-vote a year from.
You'll be
Yeah.
voting on the budget every year. Whether or not you need to continue this will depend on your judgment going forward.
So
It'll be
Okay.
part of like, yeah, it'll just become part of the usual budgetary thing, and it'll just
Okay,
be
so,
in there
but
every year.
basically-
Because if we take it away, then we won't be able to have to take the stormwater plug down. So since we want it to be.
It could be stored in a hard drive in the office, right?
Yeah, but public won't have access.
Well. Will it,
By the way, we have a 1.5 terabyte flash drive in my possession with years of recordings of the MCC.
So let me ask you this. So so on our website, there's a link to the Google Drive. Is that what you're saying?
No, we would put a link to the Google Drive on the website. Right
Okay.
now, normally we would post documents to the website, but there's a 20 megabyte limit on Squarespace, and that's
Got ya.
way lower than other stuff we've
Okay,
already
got ya,
produced.
got ya.
We took up a lot of
Yes.
our storage space when we did the Cypress Point thing,
This
which
has
was
to have
60
this-
or 80
we
megabytes.
have to have this. This is not like
I need you to get this
It
so
has
that
to
I
have
can
this.
post the report
Right.
within the next week or so.
right. This is a has to have. This is not a thing. You just have to have it.
technical question. If you're, I think you're saying you'd post a link on the website to the stormwater report,
To the
right?
Google Drive
To
store.
the Google Drive. Okay, so if I click on that, is it gonna be so big that I can't see it anyway?
No, you'll download. It'll just take a while depending on your connection.
how big is the file?
Well, we're not finished, but you can expect 100 megabytes easy.
So for all this visibility we have to have to the public, it has to happen.
Yeah.
There's probably another way around it.
It's
that we
operating expenses.
Haven't explored yet, but to get this to move forward, it's just $100.
Yeah.
For now, it's just for 1 year.
Yeah.
We'll relook at it in a year. So I don't think we need to really. We just wanted a little bit more information and we got it now, so. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
my question, maybe I don't understand something, is that this is just covering the size of the stormwater report. What happens as we accumulate other reports? I guess what I'm wondering is,
It will cover a lot more other reports.
okay,
We're getting the next tier of storage, which is going to be a lot more than we need for the stormwater report. But all we can do is procure this one increment. So we will have a lot more storage, which raises the possibility that 1.5 terabyte flash drive I have with all the historic meetings of the MCC could be also put on Google Drive and made available to the public.
so, that's a separate issue, and I
It
think
is.
PCTV archives all the videos, so I'm not sure that we need that.
PCTV apparently wasn't around when some of these recordings were done in the 90s.
Well, I'm not looking at that.
Oh,
Yeah, don't worry about that.
okay, well, we're not discussing that here now, but if that's the case, then I guess my concern is how do we look at this going forward? I mean, is this if we look 10 years down the road, is our storage going to keep increasing?
Mm-hmm.
And how are we going to host that?
Murphy, what is it called? What's the law that decreases the cost of storage and CPU by?
Oh, yeah.
It decreases. What?
Moore's
Law.
Thank you.
So if a role of the MCC is to be a repository of knowledge capital for the Midcoast, which is a position I agree with, then we will need to continue to store things. Lisa has laid a wonderful foundation and our storage will continue to increase. I would also, given we're following Moore's law, suggest that it will cost us less and less to do so as time goes by.
So you foresee that at some point we might migrate to migrate all of this to some other system that's more efficient? Or?
Is there any chance to lose anything through the migration process?
Well,
we're not.
Or have any hiccups or have any new problems that we're not expecting?
To be clear, we're talking about a hypothetical migration happening many years in the future.
All right, well, about this one
this
thing.
next year thing is gonna cover us for years.
So it's gonna be a
Okay.
separate, it's gonna be a separate drive, so we'll have two. Your stuff will go on the new 100.
No.
Everything else will stay on.
The
It's just
shared
expanding the existing.
Okay,
The
so there's
current
no chance
shared
of any
Google Drive.
hiccups.
There's nothing needs to be migrated anywhere. It's just-
No.
it's just
Okay.
creating a bigger box.
Okay.
okay.
I'm ready to vote. Do I need to say I want to?
Why don't you
Any
say
other
move
discussion?
stuff?
Yeah, I move that we.
I think
vote on this.
Lisa, do you want to say something?
I can't figure out where the raised hand is. Every time I want to raise my hand, I can't find it again. I'm sorry. But I just wanted to add a couple of things. Greg mentioned that a lot of our space is taken up with the Cypress Point documents. I just wanted to point out that those documents are all available on the county website, and I'm sure they will continue to be there until the project is open for business. And I don't think you need that. And I mean, especially when it's large things like this, you might periodically look at that and say, well, wait, maybe we don't, maybe we're done with this. I forget what else. I just oh, and the videos too. So you're saying these videos you got from Leonard, they're stored on this Google Drive?
They're stored on a flash drive I got from Leonard Warren. Yes.
Well, I think that you could just put that at the office. I don't see why that has to be on Google Drive.
It's a question of whether you think it's valuable to have in.
We're not talking about that right now, right?
We're not talking about it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we
I
could skip.
mean, it's there's a video VCS, there's what, old tapes in the office too. I mean, there's stuff, and nobody's ever looked at them. And okay,
Anybody
sorry.
got trouble sleeping, you know? Sleep. Some of these meetings, 4 hours, 5 hours long.
I mean, when I came on the council in 2012, I went over to the office, was just filled with boxes. And I went through all that stuff, and some of it was very valuable, and I sort of threw some stuff away. But I mean, it's like nobody else has done it. And I mean, realistically, and anybody's one day, are they gonna have time to go over there and do that? I kind of think maybe I've been obsessed about it, but I don't think I haven't noticed anybody else particularly obsessed. And I'm glad you appreciate what I put on the website, the MCC website, but just saying, maybe, sometime you could weed out some things.
Weeding's good.
Yeah,
Thank you, Lisa,
raised.
for all
Yes,
your
I see,
work.
I see. Anne, would you like to say something?
Yeah, so I was just going to say that I think that the documents that we have stored, particularly Cypress Point, is important because there were things, it was approved, but it was not following the rules. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I think people should have access to them. And so I don't think paying for storage is a problem. And we have this money to spend, and it's going to be taken from the county. So I really don't see what the problem is.
I move that we approve the $100 storage drive.
I second that. Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Call it.
Call it.
Okay, Greg,
Yes.
Gus.
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Claire.
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
and Kimberly is a yes.
Great. Do it. Great.
No, Scott has to do something.
I do.
We need the debit card to pay for this.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, the two of you. Do it.
Well, it might involve Dan because he's the last one that had the debit.
Oh, I
card.
don't have.
I gave it to you, didn't I?
No.
Well, you had the number.
I don't know. I'm looking at you, Dan.
Okay.
We will have to work this
I
out.
should
I
have-
can't believe this thing's gonna found because no one knows what
The
the
debit card is.
Okay, send me a text message if it's
I'll
not found
get it to you.
within a day or two. and I'll go get another one.
Awesome.
I do not have the.
Lisa's waving her hand again.
Yeah, Lisa.
Yes.
Okay, just help my confusion so I can put on the website what was approved and what wasn't. So I got confused apparently on the consent. I thought you pulled 5B. I got the wrong. What did you approve on consent? One set of minutes, the 23rd. And did you approve the commemorative tokens or was that pulled?
Yes.
Yes, you approved it, or yes, it was pulled?
Yes, we approved it.
All right, so now all the consent has been approved except the minutes for October 30th?
Correct.
Correct.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Okay, awesome. All right, now, council activity. Anybody got anything? What's everybody up to?
Hey, so did you talk to Ray about the money that we're gonna give to HMB council?
Let's see, have I talked to him since we had that? I don't think I've talked to him.
Okay.
I meet with him next week. Have lunch with him next week.
Cause let me know, I'll give my update to them and give them that, and it's gonna be on the 19th.
Okay,
So that would be next
that's
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I don't see him until Thursday.
Okay. So I'm not going to.
I'm
do
sure
it.
it's, I mean, we approved it. I'm sure it's fine.
Should I do it?
Yeah, just do it.
Okay.
Well, should be clear to them. I might, just make sure there's no.
We have a letter saying we could spend down the funds we had.
Right. It's
For
I
specific,
I already
for
talked to
specific-
him and said we were going to do it,
Okay,
and he didn't seem to have a problem.
okay,
Okay.
fine.
Yes.
as long as we follow our process for transparency, we're allowed to spend those funds.
He didn't have a problem. It's fine.
Well, we can't spend it on anything.
No, that's what I mean.
even
As
though
long as
you're
we're,
very transparent about spending it.
well, as long as it conforms to the rules.
Okay.
Yeah.
No buying any Coke, right?
So I can go order these things from Cafe Press or whatever,
Yes.
too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yes.
So you know, I attend the SAM sewer and the MWSD water and sewer meetings. And I'll just note that Montero Water and Sanitary District is going to be updating their strategic plan for the first time since 2015, 2017. This is going to be an important effort. Okay, for those people who are dependent on the aquifers in Montero for the water and the airport wells, and the fact that we've lost the 2 wells in Pillar Ridge because of the new PFAS regulations. So just be aware, if you're living in the north side and you use MWSD for water, the strategic planning process is something you might want to pay attention to. Oh, and we also have, and I don't know who's going to speak to this, we now have a suite of 4 people. We've all pursued, various people, Chris Rogers and Kevin, I can't say his name, Sons next sweet ski, who seems quite confident. There's multiple people now available. Right.
We could always
So
use
there's-
more.
What were the names again? It was Chris, Kevin, S.
Randy.
Randy was just here.
Oh, Randy. Yep.
So these will all
And then
be
that-
candidates at the December meeting.
Vivek, I think, Vikas.
Okay.
So we're gonna,
Did-
that's a
did
future
Kevin-
agenda topic.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Did
so
Kevin
it's
send
on
it-
future agendas. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Send an email that I didn't see, or Kevin?
Yeah, you should have an email. Wait a minute, I'll send it to you if you don't have it.
I don't know if I
Okay.
can either. Yes.
I would, if Claire is amenable, I would like to hear an update on the healthcare on the coast event. That happened, and is there a report out?
Didn't I say that last time? No,
Oh. I must have.
we had it, it went well. There were maybe 100 people in person, 20-25 on Zoom. I thought there'd be more on Zoom, but there weren't. But everybody was highly engaged and had really good questions. And the publicity is in the hands of Dignity, who's a little bit slow. But they had the ribbon cutting today. Ray was there.
I think that's what I meant.
Yeah, oh, the ribbon cutting. There were a number of people that have been involved there. Ray was there, made some remarks. I went back later to get a flu shot. And the place was hopping. So keep it up.
I'm going for RSV shots. Okay. I'll go get a shot there.
And did we receive more surveys or?
Last time I heard, there were close to 500 surveys.
500.
Close to, about 10 or 15% were in Spanish. And they were all almost all wildly positive about having urgent care.
Well, that's a lot more than the 50 reported
Yes.
last time. So,
Yes.
so that's good news.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think there's been an official compilation yet, but that's the gist of it.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Any other council activity before we talk more about future agendas? No? No? Okay, future agendas. So we got the imminent stormwater report you heard about earlier. Obviously, we've got this new El Granada Hotel on the horizon.
Can we say anything on that? Because it's not in the Midcoast, right?
But it affects us directly.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I mean, we should probably have to.
And you have the candidates. What about Big Wave? Why is that listed?
I heard they were gonna rezone it or so redo something. They're gonna make a change. I forget.
Which, about the big wave or the
Yeah.
Big wave? The reason I asked to put big wave on is because we have traditionally been opposed to big wave. And now they're gonna be there. And we might as well hear from them what their positive things are. And at the same time, hold their feet to the fire about things that they have promised to do.
Originally, it was an office project.
Yeah.
With development of disabled housing.
Right,
That was it. That's the project that was approved.
right. And that's not
And
what's
now they're
happening.
changing. That's from what I understand, everything's changed.
Right. But they still are obligated to contribute to the traffic management at Cypress. And we'd like to hear about their construction plans and how come it all changed.
Right.
That's what I would like to hear.
I would like to hear that too.
Yes, correct.
I just want to read through what's in the spreadsheet that Kimberly first authored, the Kimberly S. Williams Memorial Agenda Tracking Spreadsheet. Here are some older items, and I'm not suggesting these for December, but I just want to let the council hear. Trees falling in the El Granada medians. Remember the lady who came here, and there are others who have contacted me directly. Harbor and Marauder erosion issues, the mountain lion outbreak, an MCC succession plan. Do we color that done?
No.
Okay, well, that's what we're gonna cover at the next meeting.
So
Unleaded fuel in the Half Moon Bay Airport, the CDRC problems with the process that was raised by Virginia today. The Mountain Prairie Project that was raised by Tiffany today. And I think we're done with TDM comments for now, right? Okay, so I'll gray that one out.
So the Mountain Prairie thing, I'd love to see that bumped up as quick as we can do it.
Can we reach out to what's his name?
Yeah, have them
Dave
get back.
Smith?
Have them back. Yeah.
Yes, Dan.
No, I was just gonna say that it's my understanding, historically, the first meeting of December, the changing of the officers are first. So some of this stuff, will be out, I just don't, I think we're gonna be careful to load up too much stuff on new people.
I'd like to do changing of the officers at the end of the meeting so that we
Okay.
can get some process done before that.
Okay, nobody's told me that, so.
Nobody, I'm not in charge, but that's what I would like.
Okay, yes, we're our own MCC, Lisa's got something to say, it looks like.
She's got her hand up.
Okay, yes, Lisa?
You're muted, you're muted, Lisa.
It's late.
There
she goes.
There you go.
On Big Wave, I do keep the webpage up to date on that as far as the development agreement changes would cover this, whatever, the traffic contributions and all that stuff. It's all covered there in the staff reports. As far as as far as MCC's history, I want to clarify that any letters that the council wrote were opposed to the huge original project with desalination plant and God knows what, and 2 parcels. It was greatly reduced. And the second version the issue about that having to contribute to the traffic was because of the commercial development. Nobody was ever opposed to the wellness center. And that's all they're building now. That's the only thing that's underway. So I am in, the planner is still Camille. So she's very familiar. She's been the planner for it from the start, which is a great advantage. She has, and he can answer any of your questions. And, you know, plus I look at it every day. I'm going to, whatever, I'm trying to be tactful. But, yeah, they're only working on the wellness center. Thanks.
We're gonna build a desal plant there.
One thing I'd like to say, if I may, about planning projects, this is related to something that it struck me while Natalie was talking about the prospective hotel. I think it's really a good thing to remember when you're talking about something that hasn't been built and hasn't been approved, not to say it will be, but it is proposed to be. Make it much more conditional. Don't act as though you've already accepted that it's already approved.
Agreed. Good
Can I-
advice.
Can I add to that? Also, I did a slide deck as I do about, I had done this about the beach house, and it was focused upon the trees blocking the views, and the RV park had trees, and I was always on that. So I had just updated that thing, which had the permit history of the beach house, which was the Marchant, whatever, the permit history of these issues. And I've got pictures in there showing the view, and now it's changed because the RV park trees were changed, and I added in facts about this new proposal and then a previous proposal at that same location of the same size that was denied, and whatever, just basically the facts, so you have that reference and the pictures before and after, so that it's like a starting point for a conversation. And I could send that along if you're interested.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead. Okay. Alright, so next time we'll definitely do the changing of the guard.
So here's this.
Can I say something about the hotel? So I don't know I don't know where we're at on the future agendas, but
Okay, you have something on the hotel there?
right now,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, so certainly I think it's important, just so everybody knows, we're talking about the proposed hotel. Thank you, Claire. The proposed hotel between the beach house and Sam's. And apparently there was a hotel proposed very similar, and it was denied by the Half Moon Bay Planning Commission. I think it's very important that that we know about it, but it may be early on process to actually invite anybody.
Comment.
Yeah,
or
because
invite-
they're not. It's still going through Half Moon Bay planning, different. But at some point, I do think be good to have an agenda item on it.
So let me.
So maybe we take that off for next.
Yeah, I mean, I
Maybe
don't.
because it's going to be the first,
next.
change. You don't want to overload.
I just want it on the radar.
Yeah, I
We'll
think it's
eventually
good.
be there.
Definitely. Yeah, we leave it on for next. Yeah.
They denied the Ritz that had the mock-up.
The Hyatt.
Is that the Hyatt?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Hyatt.
The Ritz.
And I wonder if they're gonna do it this year instead of that.
We don't know.
The same
Well,
people that are
future agendas.
opposing it are opposing this one. The same person that opposed the Hyatt, the same group
Well,
are also involved in this.
Okay.
Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Right, so, okay, but for next time,
Yes.
changing the guard, and do we have anything else?
Stormwater.
And stormwater for next time, okay, great, I think it's.
And can we interview the new people?
Yeah.
That's changing the guard.
Oh, okay, so it's
No,
new officers and new members.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
I thought
It's
that
different.
was interviewing to recommend to the supervisor
Yeah.
who to appoint.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we mean.
Well,
Yes.
that's going to take
It takes a
more
while.
time than just, that's an addition.
That's
Yeah,
probably
That's,
like an hour.
that's why I'm saying, like, just stormwater and that. I don't wanna put anything else on the agenda.
Okay, yeah.
And new officers.
And
Yeah,
then,
Let's be real.
Changing of the guard stuff.
Let's
All the
be
personnel
real.
stuff.
Let's be real about the stormwater because
Yeah.
I do feel it's important to present a draft to the MCC. But given that it's going to be, I mean, there's 16 chapters right now. I don't expect people to have read that and mastered it by the meeting.
Well, you're gonna have a summary, right?
I'll have an executive summary, but I think what it'll be is an introduction, which would probably be the starting point for the council to then begin commenting and for subsequent drafts to be prepared. And remember what I said, we still haven't had a peer review. So I don't expect to take a lot of time. I'll just hit the high points and promise to keep working on it with whoever in the council wants to. And that should leave most of the time for interviewing other candidates and other business.
Adjourn.
Uh,
Did I jump the gun there? I saw a period. Sorry, Kimberly. Apologize for that. Go ahead.
Yes, Kimberly.
So just to clarify, discussion of new roles, we're not doing that tonight. We're doing it next time.
What roles?
The officer.
She's got a good point. By the time you close that meeting, you have to at least have provisional people to handle the responsibilities not currently being filled by surviving members. Like whatever I do.
I thought so I clearly, I don't know how this has been done before, but I thought we figure out who's taking what role. And then it kicks in at the next meeting.
Yeah, I actually also thought the new roles started.
No,
First meeting.
historically, no.
Well, that would imply that you have to establish the new roles at the beginning of the meeting.
Are you talking about roles or are you talking about offices?
Offices.
That's why it's always been done that way.
But we won't even have.
And 13 years I've been on.
We won't
that's
even
how
have
it's
all
been
the
done.
new people, so I think you might have to just establish provisional coverage responsibilities pending the appointment of the rest of the officers.
But no, we're talking about two different things.
Yeah, I mean, are you anticipating that a new council member will be an officer? Because I thought that was not.
No, I wouldn't assume that, but.
It's happened. It's happened.
When does it happen?
Me,
I
I was
also,
the secretary and it was my first year.
but I also don't think we should make decisions about officers without everyone who will be. Like, without everyone affected being on the council.
Well, that's not gonna happen because it's gonna take Ray at least a month to approve it.
That's why I said provisional, make assignments.
Oh, it's just gonna be a
I'm
mess.
sorry, I'm confused
I
about the
disagree.
process here.
I think we should interview the people next time. We should decide if we in fact actually do end up with 4 candidates for 3 slots, we will need to decide which 3 we want to recommend to Ray. And send him off those recommendations, and none of the officer things should change until the January meeting, because then that's the meeting where the new people will come up.
Perfect.
They won't come in January
Why not?
because it takes too much time. He's not gonna get it done by then. And the bylaws, I think, say you have to change officers at the last meeting in December.
I don't
Maybe
think
we
I was
should have
approved.
First Wednesday of December to take care of the addition, just to take a little stress off the council.
I don't see how that takes stress off.
Yeah, I
Let's
don't
get
see
an
that.
extra meeting.
Right.
Yeah, no, I can only do one meeting.
No, the changeover, getting all that done in
I
the
think you
future,
could ask
talk
Ray
about.
next week, when
Yes,
you have
I'm
lunch
gonna-
with him,
Yes.
can he expedite the
Yes.
approval and endorsement if he receives it on the 13th, 14th, 15th?
Yes,
So that by the time we have a meeting in January, you guys are fully staffed.
yes.
But we still need officers in December.
Well,
So just to wonder what that process is. It's not just that the supervisor has to approve, it then goes to the board of supervisors and has to be agendized at a meeting.
that's what he's gonna ask Ray about.
That's why it should be done sooner than later.
Lisa?
May I add to this, please?
Yeah.
The new term is the December meeting. So the new council, if there were new council members now, anyway, but the new officers have to be elected for the coming term at the December meeting. And generally, you would start it off with saying goodbye and congratulations to the outgoing members. And then you would vote on at least the chair going forward to do the first meeting in January agenda. I mean, you've got to have a chair. I would not assume that any of the new appointees are going to be chair, that I would just assume that the chair would be someone who's already been on the council. And
Right. No, but
I would,
That new
to
members
me,
being.
to me, it seems like the most important things to do in December are to elect your new key officers and to pick the new candidates you want to recommend. I mean, that's probably fill the meeting.
I like what you said about picking the chair, and I like what you said about letting other new members decide whether they want to raise their hands for some of the officer positions and spread the workload.
But that didn't happen when we came on board.
So I don't see it hurts anybody to do it that way.
I don't object to it. I'm just concerned that the process could drag out for a while, so.
I'd rather see the existing MCC vote for the new officers, because at least you all know what we're looking for. And then have the new people come on. And not wait for the new people to vote for the officers, because.
Okay, so I want to hear from Ray whether how fast, like if we at the next meeting in December recommend 3 names, how long does it take him to turn it around to like officially make it official?
Well, getting things on the
Next
agenda
time
is hard.
we can elect a new chair and leave all the other positions provisional until.
I just remember.
If he says he can turn it around, if he says he can't, like it's gonna take 3 months to turn it around or something, then yes, we want to step.
It took almost 2 months for my appointment to be voted on.
Correct.
That's why I'm
He's correct.
concerned.
All right, well, let me just ask him before we decide.
Maybe we should meet earlier in December so that we have more, we can appoint nominate our new members, and then they would be closer to being ready in January.
Well,
I agree.
ask him if
I
that
agree.
makes a difference. If a week makes a difference, then yes. If a week doesn't make a difference, then
Okay, so you'll let us know.
yes. I will, but let me just put that in mind.
And is that traditionally how it's happened
What?
for the council, that you wait till the new members come on board to pick the officers?
No, because we don't usually have all this stuff happening at the same time.
So there's gonna be 4 members. to
And
vote.
4 officers.
And right. Okay.
Congratulations.
And then that's the new council for now.
So everybody has to show up to every meeting.
Well, so I have one other question. Do the bylaws prohibit or limit a certain number of council members, or are we limited to 7 council members?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah,
Best to have 7.
that would need a board.
so we can't have more than 7?
Nope.
Can't pack.
But
the
I
MCC.
would encourage the thought that you could have adjunct members who, we have people in the community that helped us on a number of issues.
Yeah, but it
And-
doesn't
and
say that. in the
I know,
bylaw.
it doesn't say it, but the idea that an adjunct member be involved in researching, preparing things and
Yes.
prepared to join the council in case somebody leaves. I think it's a great idea.
In theory, it is a great idea, but I think
To
with
help-
all the problems we've run into over the last 2 years, and it gives me some concern.
So a community member helping the council is one thing, but did you say just to have a community member jump back in?
No, I said adjunct members to help with research and whatever.
Yeah, it's just a community member can help the
Yeah,
council.
they've helped before.
Yes. There's no problem there.
So we will interview candidates. We
The,
will,
the difference here is that normally in December, you have your new elected members in the room. And this year, there was no election. This has never happened before. I mean, there's been times when there was no election because only the number of vacancies was the people who signed up, so they got an automatic entry. This is totally new.
So it's good to know that we're not breaking precedent, we're setting precedent.
I hope not.
okay,
There will be community members that will be helping the council.
sure, well,
I'll be one of them.
However's
great,
asked.
yes.
I move we adjourn.
Yeah,
Well,
second that.
Did we come to conclusion on that?
So,
Gus is gonna get back to us.
Oh, my
The
God.
conclusion is that the chair sets the meetings and the agenda and he's gonna let us know.
yeah, I'll talk to Ray and then, but discussion with Ray will determine exactly what happens next time.
Okay.
You good? Adjourn?
There, are you, okay?
Me or
What question?
either of us.
What?
I'm sort of okay, not quite.
I'm okay to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Sure.
I second that.
All right,
Let's
by
get out of here.
acclamation. Awesome.
Transcript is saved.